Coming up next on the Desmond Show, a photo album of historic downtown featuring 33 pictures stretching from the 1860s to the 1970s. You won't want to miss it. Hello and welcome. We're happy to have Mr. Rodriguez here today to help us enjoy this photo album that we'll be having. But first, we want to do upcoming days in Prescott history in February. And there's quite a few good ones, actually. The first one involves the Pioneer Home, which in February 1st, 1911, opened up its doors. And this was the first state-run retirement home in the country. And it was basically for the miners who came, they found gold, they helped the economy, and they ended up in their old age, all wore out with no money. And the state wanted to make sure they were taken care of. And the reason why Prescott got the Pioneer Home was primarily because Frank Murphy donated the land and the state didn't have to pay for the land. So 1911, the only state-run retirement home sitting in Prescott, Arizona.
There was one of those moments where they actually said, hey, they're doing a trivia saying, how old or how many years are able to go ahead and get into the Pioneer Home? Because there is a rule, right?
There is, yeah. And it's changed over the years. And I think you have to be a resident of Arizona for, I think it's maybe up to 60 years now or 50 years or something. I personally, I can't help where I was born, but I think I'd have to live to be 90 to get in the Pioneer's Home at this point. But yeah, that's true. But it's for Pioneer residents, and they have open rooms, and they take a portion of your income, whatever it is, and you get to keep the rest. And it's really an excellent Gibraltar kind of piece of history for Prescott. So that's the first one. The second one, a big one, the Walnut Grove Dam collapse. And actually, this is going to be a story in my upcoming book with Brad Courtney, True Tales of Prescott, that we're putting together.
Where is Walnut Grove?
Well, it's up on the river, high up from Wickenburg in the Walnut Grove area. And there you can see the dam there. And they had a lake with 1 billion gallons of water. And the idea was to use that water for placer mining, and that sort of thing. And plus it was used for recreation back in the day. Well, they did it way too cheap. And the lakeside of the dam was all waterproof, but they didn't waterproof the other side. And there was this big rain and snow melt. And for 6 hours, the water topped the dam and started eroding away on the backside. And it finally exploded and killed between 100 and 150 people, just about everybody who lived in the valley. And by the time the water reached Wickenburg, it spread out in the valley there. It was still 40 feet high when it hit Wickenburg. And some people call it the worst natural disaster, but it was really the folly of men. The guy in charge of the dam sent out an alcoholic to warn the people and paid him in advance, and he just went and got drunk instead. And bad situation.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so you can read more about that in the upcoming book.
Is there still a dam there, or is it just a natural river still?
Oh, it's still a creek there. And they talked about rebuilding it, but they didn't. And actually, engineers learned a lot from this thing exploding. You can see in the picture there, it's straight across. And today, modern dams are curved, which, we call it modern, but that's actually a horizontal application of the Roman arch, ancient technology.
Yeah, and it held a lot of weight.
Yeah, definitely. So that's the way dams are made now with that curve, because this one at Walnut Grove exploded. And if Wickenburg were more highly populated back in the 1890s, it would have been a huge disaster. In fact, there's some stories of buried treasure. Yeah, one guy's safe, his business is buried somewhere in the sand down there in Wickenburg. And
Holy
so,
moly.
yeah, that's quite a story there. And then the last one we're going to talk about is February 26th, the first automobile to drive into Prescott in 1903. That's a picture of what it looked like. That's not the actual automobile.
Do we know the name of this model?
We do. It was the very first model that was mass produced. It's a 1903 curved dash Oldsmobile, and it was owned by a Jerome merchant named Walter Miller. And it was funny because back in that day, the way to Jerome, from Prescott to Jerome, was through Dewey and Cherry and Cottonwood and Clarkdale back up the mountain to Jerome. There was no 89A. So if you had business in Jerome, it would take a day to get there, a day to do your business, and a day to get back.
Oh my gosh.
So this guy, he had this car in Jerome, and he actually sent the car on the train to Jerome Junction, which is just south of Chino Valley. And in spite of taking off that whole day's travel, it still took him like 2 hours, an hour and a half, go 17 miles from Jerome Junction and into Prescott. And the people,
so crazy.
People were just thrilled by seeing a car, and boy, they started coming in big time. Changed Prescott forever. So,
oh man, so 1903 is when it actually started.
Yeah,
that is so
absolutely.
insane.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that having those type of history facts is just kind of like it's amazing to see that we're not too far off from when this all started, like this whole lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see how things developed. All right, now we got this wonderful photo album to go through, and we certainly hope you enjoy it. That first one is a picture of Prescott, one of the earliest images, and I'm sorry they did not have high-res photography. In 1864.
We'll forgive you, Drew.
Thank you.
See how that is.
You can see on the far right, there's Thumb Butte, and just a couple of tents and buildings. One of the buildings there, if it's pictured, still exists. It is on the grounds of Charlotte Hall Museum. It's called Fort Misery, and it was originally a store. It was the first building built in Prescott, and it's currently the oldest surviving log cabin in the state, and you can go to Charlotte Hall Museum and still see it.
Oh, that's so
crazy. A little taste of one of the buildings that would have been there back then in Prescott. And that whole area, there's no streets, there's no plaza, just a little valley next to Granite Creek. Now we're going to go through 4 different little aspects of downtown. First, Whiskey Row, then the Courthouse and the Plaza, then Cortez Street, and then Gurley last.
Okay.
So here's Whiskey Row. In the 1870s, the assay office is the thing that is closest to us. This is looking south from, it's looking north from Goodwin. And there's the assay office. And way down at the end is Diana's Saloon and dirt streets. Nice and wide.
This was before the fire.
Oh, definitely. Yeah,
wow.
We'll have a couple.
What does a say mean? Was it in that last name or?
No. That is where you take ore and dirt, and they would test it and see how much gold or silver or whatever was in it, and they would tell you, well, you can expect so many ounces of gold per ton based on this test. And there were assay offices all over what is now the Quad City area. They test your ore and see how good it was.
And
so
it transfer from that to sell gold, buy gold here.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Absolutely. So our next one here. This one is looking south from Gurley in the 1880s. And the first closest thing to us is the Randall and Klein store. And that was just sort of a general merchandise. And way in toward the back, the signs that are kind of coming out of the storefronts there's the Pacific Brewery and the Arizona newspaper there. I think that's a Miner there.
Daily and Week.
Yes.
Yeah, Daily Weekly Miner.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Nice. That's so crazy.
Yeah.
So is this actually right here where it says Boots? Is that Gurley Street, or is
Yeah,
that just
that is where St. Michael's is today.
dude, that is so
Yeah,
insane.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And what was it called on top?
Randall and Klein.
Yeah, Randall and Klein.
Mm-hmm.
That is so cool.
And they advertised in the paper, as did the Pacific Brewery and some of those other ones. All right, the next one is sort of the middle of Whiskey Row. And closest to us is Cobb Webb Hall, which has a story about a baby being won in a poker game, but that's a little more bar story, as my co-author has found out. And then way down at the end is the Fireproof Burke Hotel. They advertise as being fireproof, and yeah, we get the next slide.
Wait. Is this the one that actually burnt down?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's the Fireproof Hotel. Yeah, and the next one is After the Fire, Whiskey Row. That is how it was after the fire.
Oh my gosh.
Just complete devastation. That little on the right, there's a hunk of wall. That was the old palace. And just total disaster. And the stores moved across to the plaza, set up tents and sold their wares from the plaza there.
Well, it's kind of crazy that if you're looking at this, and this is literally facing Whiskey Row, where Mass Saloon and the Palace is now currently, there's a mountain right there. There's literally a mountain. Is that a mountain, or am I mistaken?
Oh,
this little top portion right here. So it obviously right now it's the creek area. So is this I don't even know if see how it's all tree lined?
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird to see if that actually was a mountainous area.
That might be the hill that St. Joseph's got put on later, possibly, is what I'm thinking potentially.
Okay, but maybe the photo itself is not like kind of like
yeah, it's sort of at an angle there, and that actually after the fire kind of gives you sort of an idea of how it was before all the buildings, when it was just a hunk of little piece of alley there.
And so the picture to the far left, and it says the Palace on there. Yeah. Okay, so that's where is a bar still in there at this time, you think?
Oh yeah, no, that's still it's the Palace there. They rebuilt on the same spot.
Oh, that is so insane, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, the next one was After the Fire, 1905. This is a major bounce back from a devastating fire.
How long did it take to build this?
Actually, about 2 or 3 years.
That is insane. Yeah, that is a lot of work to be built up there.
Goodness, the construction jobs in the early parts of the 20th century were really, really awesome. And I have a letter from that the Sam Hill people kept all these years, and after the fire their wholesaler was in Chicago, and Chicago had a great fire 10-15 years prior to Prescott's, and they wrote this kindest letter saying, Chicago bounced back, and we're sure Prescott will too, and we will extend credit to inventory your store. We know you're good for it. And the Sam Hill family was so moved by it that they kept that letter to this very day.
Oh my gosh, I would love to see it.
Oh yeah, so that's pretty cool.
That is so cool. And as you can see, these are the roof lines of what you see currently right now.
Yes, yeah, really, it hasn't changed much at all. The next one shows from the other direction, 1915, and the St. Michael's is very prominent and going on down toward the Palace and the other bars there. That's girly with the pedestrian scramble nowadays.
And as you know, guys, this is before the curbs downtown Prescott.
Yeah, before the paving.
The bumpers, we call them the bumper devastators or whatever.
Yeah, definitely the bumper scratchers.
Yeah, the bumper scratchers.
That's because there's so much water runs through there during the monsoon. That's why the high curbing.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, the next one. Some of these others I went decade by decade, but really Whiskey Row after the fire, it just hasn't changed a whole lot.
No, look at this.
That's Whiskey Row in the late 30s, maybe early 40s, back in the neon years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Check that out.
So many
you know.
cafes. There was a bowling alley downtown. Huh?
Yes, yeah. That's one of the things I wanted to point out. Actually, bowling on Whiskey Row had a long history. Back in the 1870s and 1880s, they had bowling and billiards on Whiskey Row, along with baths.
That's so crazy. There's a garage. I don't know if you guys can see any of these little images, but there was a garage on Whiskey Row.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the. I mean, it's so. Is there like a fixture of somebody on the building? Does it look like a person with a horse?
Yeah, that could well
Or
be.
no, maybe it's maybe something behind the actual lit sign.
Yeah, but imagine if that were in color, all that colored neon.
Oh,
there at
that
Whiskey
would be
Row. Yeah,
amazing.
the neon years of Whiskey Row.
The neon years.
Yeah. Then the last one is the 1950s. This is showing Sam Hill Warehouse and the White Cafe going on down in the St. Michael's back in on the far right. And yeah, the far left of that portion of the Sam Hill Warehouse is where the Western Heritage Center is currently located.
Okay, now I see it.
Yeah,
I was trying to figure out
absolutely.
exactly what buildings are still there. So on the right next to the company is that the hotel there now?
Yes.
The Grand Highland?
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there's right to the right of that is a cavity now from when
Yes.
the birdcage burned down.
Oh,
That's probably
wow.
the biggest change to happen to Whiskey Row is that fire when the birdcage.
I thought that
burned
whiskey
down.
or the birdcage actually had a higher roof line. Did they actually construct something different after this?
I would
this
have
photo?
to double check on this, Martine. I would have to double check.
Yeah, for
on
some
that.
reason, I thought it was almost the same size as. I mean, it's been a while since the birdcage burnt down. I mean, gosh, I don't know if anybody remember that, but that was so devastating.
Oh yeah, that was terrible.
It'd be kind of cool to see if they actually added on to that building at some point in time. But this is crazy.
Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
it.
All right, our next group is the Courthouse and the Plaza. Here is the Plaza before there was a courthouse. Again, not high res. You can't help that. That's Whiskey Row in the background. And the Plaza before the courthouse was used for sporting events a great deal. There was baseball was extremely popular, and they played that. And they also they made out for a few years tennis courts, grass tennis courts on
This
the
is
Plaza.
so cool. I love
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. And you might say, well, what did they do about a courthouse? Well, the next one will show you. The next slide. That's our first courthouse. And that is actually located where the Masonic building is today on Cortez. Second door over from Gurley toward the depot on the eastern side of the street.
Okay, so we're talking about on Cortez and Gurley Street.
Yeah, second door down
Okay.
from the old bank. That's the old Masonic building. And
did that burn down as well?
No, the guy lost his shirt. He knew that there was a need for meeting places and for a courthouse and stuff, and he built that hoping he'd rent it out to the county, which he did. But the problem was there's no jail. And the county was paying huge amounts of money to literally handcuff somebody to a tree and have somebody sit and stare at them and then go get to the restaurant and feed them. And it was costing in today's dollars like $100,000 to, keep one person,
Get
tied
treated
to a
right.
tree while his case was going through the court. So after that, they build the old courthouse, and there it is. That was right around 1867. So that first courthouse did not last very long at all. And that was a charming building, but frankly, it was poorly made. And it would be one of the shortest lived courthouses in U.S. history. It didn't even make 50 years.
And this is actually right where the courthouse sits now?
Yeah, same spot.
That's so insane.
Now, as the county grew, the courthouse needed to grow, and they put an addition onto it. You can see there, they added onto it. I love that picture. All those people running around downtown with their, protecting themselves from the sun with their umbrellas and such. But that addition was a disaster. As soon as it was married to the old courthouse, it tried for an immediate annulment. It started separating away. And the problem was the courthouse, as pretty as it was, those bricks were just a facing over a log cabin building. And they did not build it precisely. And wherever the wood joined together, if there were holes, they stuck mortar in it. And over the years, the mortar would crack and deteriorate. And that whole courthouse started, just going all over the place. And that was the thing that ended up bringing the old courthouse to a demise.
So we're looking at it right now. From the left to the right is north, and then to the back of that is south, right? I mean, we're facing it as if we're looking towards the west or the east.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So that's what it was. And you see that little smokestack, that was when they started heating it with coal, I think. And even that started separating from the building, and people couldn't be in the plaza because they were afraid that thing was going to collapse on them and so forth.
Oh my gosh.
So they tore it down, and that's a picture of it being raised. That's February 16th, 1916, another day in February history is when they started.
Oh, wow,
tearing
that's
that down.
crazy.
A couple of people were killed in that too. They were tearing down one of the upper stories, and somebody was in the basement, and the upper story crashed through the floor and killed the guy in the basement.
Oh, man.
I've actually spoken to one of the descendants of the guy who died.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Jeez, talk about a rough death.
Yeah, really. So then we got our current courthouse. In the foreground there is a greenhouse. They had a greenhouse there on the plaza for Yavapai County plants and beautification. They had a gardener full-time working on that.
Wow. Okay, so this view right here is facing what side?
That's from Cortez, I believe, facing toward the west.
Union Hill? Cortez and Union Hill, like that's
the from
east
Cortez
side,
facing toward the west.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow,
And
that's so cool.
yeah. Now the granite from the courthouse and all the other buildings that have that white granite, they all came from the same place locally in the Miller Valley area. And today there is a subdivision there, and the road is called Rock Lane.
That is so
Yeah,
cool.
so if you live near Rock Lane, there used to be a whole bunch of granite there, and now it's in the courthouse and the bank buildings and the Masonic building, and so yeah.
How long
that's
did it
all
take to build this building?
over a year, like a couple of years. And in fact, they got 2 master masons from Scotland to come here to Prescott, Arizona, and live like a year and a half to do the difficult cuts for the columns and that sort of thing. And actually on the other side of every stone is a number, and they had them numbered, and so they knew where to put them.
Can you see these numbers inside of the building?
No,
because they got like drywall up over them.
More than drywall, it's reinforced concrete.
Okay,
so it is fireproof. It is reinforced concrete walls, floors, and ceilings surrounded by a 56,000 ton granite shell.
Holy moly.
So it would take like a meteor or a bomb, or as long as they keep good care of the roof, that thing's going to be there for hundreds and hundreds of years.
That is so crazy. Do you know how thick the walls are currently?
Oh, not exactly, but it would be pretty thick. I mean, you can't shave granite. You gotta make blocks to do it.
Wow.
So yeah, that is a sturdy building. It would take an act of God or war to move that sucker. And let's face it, that's it in 1917. There haven't been a whole lot of changes since then.
That greenhouse though, that's kind of cool. I love it.
Yeah. So we got one more picture of the courthouse at Christmas time, 1958. One of the things that you don't see today, I mean, this was Leave It to Beaver years, but they had a nativity scene in the gazebo there for a lot of years. But, now it's far more municipal in its focus and not so much the covert religion of the holiday. So that's a little difference there. But
it's the same gazebo.
Okay. In fact, that gazebo is one of the older structures on the plaza. It was remodeled and so forth, but it's been there since the 1890s. It was originally the bandstand for the Prescott band, before radio and stuff. People would come to the plaza and hear live music.
I think they were still playing live music from that gazebo, if I'm not mistaken, like within my life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And why not? I mean, that's what it was there for. So,
That's
yeah,
so
that's
awesome.
pretty cool. All right, next we're going to look at Cortez Street, the other side. And there's Cortez. Oh, goodness, my little thing got messed up there. That's
On
the
the top?
1880s. Yeah, that's South Cortez from Gurley. Sorry about that, folks. But that's the Bank of Arizona at Gurley and Cortez, stretching on down toward where the City Hall is today.
Okay, so this is so the corner building right now currently is the gift shop or something like that, right?
Yeah, but that was a bank to begin with, and that's that same white marble as the courthouse from Miller Valley.
Oh,
that
wow.
building
So
today.
that structure actually changed a little bit,
Oh,
right?
definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. There was a big fire on Cortez Street in 1883.
Oh my gosh.
Or was it 86 or 7? I'm sorry, one of those years, but yeah, that wiped out Cortez Street, and as we'll see as we move on.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Now this is the same time period. This was taken from the roof of the old courthouse, and it shows the middle of that block, and you can see, it's a western exposure, so that a lot of those stores, they have like awnings in front shading the
Okay, yeah.
the boarded sidewalk there. So yeah, they didn't have air conditioning, so that was the next best thing to do.
That is so cool. All these old pictures.
Yeah, isn't it wonderful? And then that's North Cortez Street. That's at the corner of Cortez and Gurley, looking north and seeing the west side of the street. And even by 1903, Gurley burned too in the fire, and it's looking very familiar, that corner.
Right.
Just few years after the fire.
It still looks the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the rod right there in front of it?
Yeah, which one?
This one right here.
Oh, that's electric and phone. It was 1921 when they decided to bury all that stuff before they paved the streets, which was smart. If you're going to put down asphalt, you might as well get the infrastructure in while there's still dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So the next one shows a broader view of Cortez Street in the 1920s. On the right side, the second door, that is the Masonic Hall. That's where that first courthouse used to be.
Okay.
And if you look down the street, you can see the head hotel there on the right side.
Which is still there.
Yes, that building's still there. And way on down at the T intersection is, of course, the depot.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
That is so cool. And this is 1920.
Yeah, it's 100 years ago, and those buildings are still standing. And that's a view from the 1970s, and some folks might still remember some of the stores that were there at that time. Now a lot of that is antique malls and so forth.
Antique row.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
So cool.
Yeah.
I like going down there and doing a little shopping. It's kind of
awesome place. Except what I hate is when they have games you played it as a kid, and they're selling them as antiques. That's kind of hard to swallow. Anyway. Let's do Gurley Street last. There it is in 1870, a little wooden thing over the drainage ditch. That's from the plaza. That's looking at the corner of Montezuma and Gurley there. Kind of the...
Okay, so this is the opposite side of
northwest corner.
St. Michael's?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow, that's so crazy. I really wanted the picture to move a little bit to the right, because was there a building where there's actual it's a parking lot right now in between?
I believe so. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
And if you look on the extreme far left, there's little Thumb Butte making a little appearance there. So that kind of gives you an idea. And I think that's the Catholic Church to the right of that up on the hill.
With the little white A-frame?
Yeah, I believe so. Could be wrong. But yeah. Can you imagine? Now, this is just a few years later, 1877, and you can see the jewelry store. Let me see what I got on there. Cook and Bell Jewelers, the The closest thing to us there is a drugstore, and that corner, it's been a drugstore owned by different owners for a lot of years. It isn't a drugstore anymore, but that corner was a drugstore for a long
So
time.
is this on the block of, if you look farther down, is that Montezuma Street? And then
Yeah,
this is Cortez?
This is the portion that would face the plaza, the portion of Gurley that's opposite of the
Where the
plaza.
Burnmeister building is now currently?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually took that down and then they restructured that too. Gosh.
Yeah.
This is 1877. So this is like right before the big fire? Or?
Yes, yeah. And in fact, Gurley built up even more between this and the big fire. We'll see that next one here. Okay, that's 1885. And it's the drugstore that's there, and it's all wood construction. There's Thumb Butte. And you can see the Burke Hotel there on Montezuma on the left. And what I love about this picture is the tree growing in the middle of Gurley Street.
Yes.
You can kind of make it out a little bit. I should have pointed out on the previous
Yeah, right here. You can see it right there.
Yeah, it's just right there. There's a little tree there. So,
yeah, right in the middle of Gurley Street.
Right in the, well, this is wagon days, and there was not a whole lot on Gurley past Granite Street anyway. Wow. Most of them were making U-turns at that point. But, yeah, I love that tree growing in the middle of Gurley Street. That's just terrific. And then... You see, there it is, the drugstore there at Cortez and Montezuma. Some of the people might remember when it was Eagle Drugs. We'll get to that. But that big brick building, that is the B&B, Burmeister, Bashford Burmeister there, right? And that's like where that kind of, they rebuilt after the fire. And in fact, the next one shows the fire after Gurley Street. And you can see that brick building there on the white, the upper floor just collapsed. And this was shortly after the fire. The smoke from the embers is still rising so much you can hardly make out the butte. You can see all the people downtown there just standing there looking at the complete
like, what are we gonna do?
Devastation. Yeah.
It's kind of crazy the trees are still there in the background.
Yeah. Well, it didn't quite get that far, I guess, but yeah. And this is this is one of my favorite pictures of Gurley in the 1910. The trolley, yes. Oh, it'd be so neat to have that back. Probably an idea before its time. But yeah, the trolley ran from Fort Whipple, where Yavapai College is, down to downtown, and it's just very convenient for the soldiers to get to their whiskey, Yep. And that was the most popular part. But it also went up Gurley to about Mount Vernon or so. They wanted it to go to some of the mines, but the Santa Fe sued and said, no, you can be inside the city, but you can't go out of the city.
And this is an electric trolley, because I can see to the wire.
To the wire, yeah, absolutely. There were 2 trolley cars, just 2, and they didn't always use the second one. So, but it never made any money. It was privately financed. Joseph Mayer of Mayer, Arizona was one of the guys who financed. He was hoping he could get it to run all the way to Mayer, but yeah, Santa Fe sued and said no. All right, now this is one of the last pictures of Gurley with dirt streets. This is 1921, and soon they would be tearing up those streets to bury the infrastructure before they paved them. And you can see Elks Theater. In the extreme left, there's the public library. That was the first Carnegie Library in the state of Arizona.
Right there on the corner?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. And that building is still there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's like the Curry building now?
Yeah, there's
Tim Curry.
Yeah, there's businesses in there. I would have to check. But yeah, that's, and you talk to people, who remember going to the library there. And on the far right side, that wood building,
Hacienda.
Well, the Hacienda is off the picture. That's a little farther down the way the angle is.
Okay.
And that wood building there is the Congress Hotel. And that also burned 2 years later. And that really changed Prescott, because after that building burned. They passed an ordinance saying no more wood buildings in the downtown district.
I started to see a pattern. They're like,
Yeah.
okay, you guys are burning it up. I
Yeah.
can see what you're doing. Well, at that time, were there's insurance policies going out?
Oh yeah, they had
Okay.
insurance, but a lot of times, a lot of the losses, like for the Great Fire, there was like partial insurance, and it's kind of pricey. These wood buildings, and not a whole lot of. They didn't have fire hydrants, so kind of a high risk. And but yeah, you can see the Elks building with Bill the Elk sitting there at the top. And after that, he came down, and it was only fairly recently when they redid the Elks and all of that work. They finally
Is it the same elk?
Yeah, it is.
That's so
He
cool.
was sitting in front of, I believe, in front of the Elks Club in Prescott Valley for a time.
They're like, no, we're bringing him back home.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And then the next one is 1935. The streets are wonderfully paved, but look at it. There's one line on the street down the middle. Just
stay in your lane.
Yeah. And this is what I was talking to you about earlier about the parade and the banner across.
Yeah, what does that banner say?
Football.
Okay.
I'm not sure why, but yeah, football. But yeah, that's a parade coming up from the west towards the east. And not sure what the event was. It might have been homecoming or something.
Yeah, there's a lot of people on the streets.
Oh,
What's the population you think at this time?
Oh goodness, I'd have to look that up. It was
like a really, really busy street right now.
Oh yeah. Downtown's had parking problems ever since people have had cars.
That's still a problem.
It still is a problem. Yeah, the parking garage. It was about 30 years late, and we need another one.
But it's crazy that they're parking the way that they are on the other side of the street. It looks like they had more space for some crazy reason.
It seems like it, but that's because there's now 5 lanes carved into that, 2 each direction.
That's
in
right.
Center
That's right.
lane.
The center lane. That's right.
Yeah.
I think they created the center lane just to maybe put snow if they need to get out.
That's true.
There.
Yeah, we'll be getting to that in a moment too. Yeah.
Oh gosh, all right, can't wait.
Yeah. Now the next one is the 1940s, and it's from on high, and there is the Hacienda, and just to the west of that is where the Congress Hotel was. And even today, there's kind of a nondescript building there. It borders the alley and so forth.
Yeah, isn't it? I think it's a lawyer's office.
Yeah, I think so, something like that.
Right behind the new the new restaurant.
Red, White, and
Red, White, and Brews. There we go.
Yeah, that's this side of the Hacienda there.
Oh gosh,
Hacienda is quite a story. I alluded to the fact that Prescott needed hotel space, probably still does, and the Hacienda was built on local money, citizens buying stock to build that. So that was a community project.
Who owns it now?
I'd have to double check on that. I'm afraid I think it was in the 1920s or the 30s. I'd have to double check. I wrote an article about when it was done, but I can't remember right on.
That's so cool.
Yeah,
this history's out of control.
Yeah. Now the next one's in 1959. That's from archives.gov, and there again, there's the Eagle Drugstore on Cortez and Gurley. I don't know what it is about that spot.
Yeah, my grandpa a long time ago on the corner of Montezuma and Gurley. It was a drugstore as well.
Yeah, and
it's so insane that so many drugstores out there.
Well, drugstores were a social place back then. The soda counter,
and ice cream,
and and boy, that's where the youth went, and drugstores were a big social deal.
So funny how we're conditioned to go to the drugstore to get your fun.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You play the jukebox, and all right. And now,
there he is.
There he is. That's looking east in 1967, a notorious snowstorm. And the thing was, in 1966, Prescott sold its snowplows to Flagstaff, and this is what happened the next year. So, one of the infamous
times. Did that happen again just recently? Like more recent, they actually had a whole bunch of equipment and then sold it again.
Oh well, yeah, that could well be. I focus on the older
talked,
stuff.
Yeah, I talked about that story, and it's kind of funny that you said that. I was like, wait, I've heard that story, but is it the same story? That's the question I'm gonna ask.
All right, okay.
That's so crazy.
But yeah, that was kind of nutty. And then the last one is Gurley Street in the 1970s, and it's still a drugstore. And
they got a new facelift though.
Yes, indeed. And so did the J.C. Penney's, and thank the Lord for that. You know, that aluminum covering the beautiful historic. Thank goodness we tore that down. And
wow,
yeah, Penny's has bounced around. From there, they went to where the Walmart is there on Gail Gardner there near Orange Springs. The Boulders, I think they call that.
Yes.
That's where J.C. Penney was before they moved to the mall.
Yep, it sure was. Yeah. Then they tore it all down. Well, they didn't tear it down. They just changed it up a little bit. That's so crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
What a freaking awesome, this is like a flash in the past, man. I love it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear that, and hopefully some of our readers enjoyed it too. We hope to have a guest next time, but before we leave, we want to talk about some of the upcoming history events that are coming up in February.
All right, let's do this.
All right, well, it's the latter ones there, my friend.
There we go.
No.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Let me get back in here because I knew that we had an extra.
Yeah, these are the last ones.
Let me get this back up, guys. Let's see. Share screen, and then we will come back to this one, and then boom.
There we are. All right. Coming up in February at Charlotte Hall Museum, the gentleman Doc Holliday. This guy is a descendant of Doc Holliday. And I've seen this. It's an excellent job and some really good history.
Really?
Living history, comes all dressed up and explains everything. And this is, we had him at the Western Heritage Center. He's going to be at Charlotte Hall Museum. It's 7 to 8:30 on February 12th. Tickets are $30, or if you're a member, it's $25. And the phone number's there, 928-277-2000. If you want the member rate, my understanding is you have to call the phone number to get the $25 deal. So that's what's going on there. And that's a lot of fun. Tickets, there is a limit to them. So go ahead and do that today. Then in the Western Heritage Center, this is something that's really exciting. On February 9th, there's a brand new book by Ray Herbeck Jr., and he chose the Western Heritage Center for the world premiere of the book. This is the first place he's going to talk about his brand new book, and we are absolutely thrilled to have him.
Dude, that is so awesome.
And it's more than just the book. He also is having music there. The book is called Changing Flags, and it's based on the Mexican War. And he's going to have music from the time period. He and another guy in that picture there will be performing music. And also, they will have authentic uniforms from the period that will be displayed one night only. That's Wednesday, February 9th. Tickets are only $10, and they're available at the Western Heritage Center, which is open on the weekend. So please, that is a wonderful price, and you get to see these authentic uniforms from the Mexican War, listen to some music and period from the time, and that's just a great and wonderful thing. And the last thing I wanted to do was give a shout out to the Arizona Territorial Society. They are a group of volunteers that dresses up in historic period clothing, as you can see there. One of the places they volunteer at regularly is the Western Heritage Center. We appreciate that. But if you're interested in that, they can help you find the period clothing. So if you're interested and you don't have that, don't worry about it. Get a hold of them on their website there. I had the web address up there. And they've been kind enough to, there we go. Yeah, they've been kind enough to feature some of my articles as part of their history on there. So little shout out to the Arizona Territorial.
Awesome. You guys are amazing.
Yeah, and then the last place where to find Drew.
let's go ahead and do that. And I will put it up here.
Yeah.
I think
Now, I have some exciting news here. Today, the Prescott AZ History blog should go over 2/3 readers today.
that is awesome.
Yeah, we're excited
Congratulations.
about that. Yeah,
It's
so
a big deal.
yeah. So the name of the blog website is prescottazhistory.blogspot.com. I'm getting ahead of myself there. The Facebook group is really popular, about 24.4K, I think, as far as followers. There's a daily pick there, and a lot of good people in that group, other historians and questions answered. And then if you're on Twitter, Instagram, or Pinterest, it's the same, handle. Thank you.
Mhm.
Same handle for all of them. Prescott AZ History, and then the blog. Over 270 articles, and today, over 2/3 reads. So that's where you can find it.
This is huge.
Hooray! Yeah,
That's a big deal.
well, appreciate you joining us. The Drew Desmond Show comes on the last Wednesdays of each month, which would make the next one February 23rd. So be sure to tune in then. Thanks so much for watching.
Amazing.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you. I appreciate you. I really do.
Thanks, and have a historic day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.